Today on the Stay-at-Home Chef, I'm showing you how to make cinnamon roll sugar cookies. It's all of the flavors of delicious cinnamon rolls in one tasty sugar cookie. To start, we're gonna beat together 1 cup of softened salted butter with about 4 ounces of cream cheese and 1 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. And I'm doing this in my stand mixer, but you can also use a hand mixer. It takes a good 1.5 to 2 minutes to get that nice and smooth and creamy. Then we'll mix in 1 egg and 2 tablespoons of corn syrup, and this will keep our sugar cookie nice and soft. So I love adding it, but if you don't want to use it, you could also skip it. Then we'll pour in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, and mix this in for about 30 seconds. Now, once that's mixed in, we can start adding in our dry ingredients. You'll need 3 cups of all-purpose flour, as well as 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. You'll mix this in. It'll mix together in a nice little dough ball, and it helps if you stop and scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl to make sure everything gets mixed in. Then take your dough out of the mixing bowl, and we're gonna divide it into 2 equal pieces. And then wrap each piece in plastic wrap so we can pop this in the fridge. You'll want to refrigerate your dough for about 1 hour, which will make it much easier to work with and roll out. Now, before we roll out our dough, we want to make our cinnamon sugar filling. So you'll need about 1/2 cup of softened butter, and you'll mix that with 1 cup of brown sugar and 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And we're gonna mix this together until it's a spreadable paste-like consistency. It takes a solid 2 minutes of mixing to get this to the right consistency. Set that mixture aside and then grab 1 of your chilled dough balls. I'm gonna sprinkle just a little bit of flour onto a clean countertop, and then we're gonna roll this out into about an 8-inch by 12-inch rectangle. A standard size sheet of paper is 8.5 by 11 inches, so I like to use the printed recipe as a guide. You want the dough to be just longer than the paper. You'll want to check and make sure that your dough isn't sticking. You want to use just enough flour to make sure that you'll be able to roll this up without it sticking to the counter. Then we'll take 1/2 of the cinnamon sugar butter and spread it out into an even layer onto the dough. I like to spread it all the way to the edge on 3 sides, but I leave just the end of the roll so that it can stick together and seal itself shut. Now, working from the long end where I've had the cinnamon sugar butter go all the way to the edge, I'm gonna start rolling this up into a tight little log. Place the log onto a piece of plastic wrap and seal the edges there. And then we'll roll this up and cover it completely with the plastic wrap. Then pop this into the fridge and let it chill for an hour as well. Repeat this process with your other dough ball so that you have 2 logs. Once your dough log is chilled, we're gonna slice off cookies. So remove it from the plastic wrap. We're going to slice off cookies. I like to just discard the end, and then about every inch, slice a cookie, and each log will make 12 cookies. And there we have it, 12 about 1-inch thick cookies. Place these onto a parchment-lined baking sheet, and then we're going to bake these in a 375-degree oven for about 10 minutes. While the cookies are baking, we're gonna put together a glaze to go on top. You'll need 2 tablespoons of softened butter and 2 tablespoons of softened cream cheese. And you'll whip this for about a minute until it's light and fluffy. Once that's whipped, we're gonna add in 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and we're gonna slowly mix in about 1 cup of powdered sugar. Now, once all of the powdered sugar is mixed in, we're gonna thin it out with about 1.5 tablespoons of milk. Once your cookies are completely cooled, you'll drizzle this mixture on top, and then you are ready to eat. Thanks for watching. You can find the full written recipe in the video description. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow, and check out the rest of my videos where you can find hundreds of restaurant quality recipes you can easily make at home. See you later.